You have 3 minutes.
You have a clock,
We have a timer now.
very fancy.
Worry about.
Nah, you can speak.
We all went.
Yes.
Yep. But you know what, next, I'll send a card out.
So the,
Fallon had a sign.
my password
For just
isn't,
that reason.
Yes.
my
which
password
was-
isn't logging me in. It says it was changed 6 days ago.
Okay.
No,
Hmm.
password for email, password for your laptop. This is password for email, password. I meant to laptop. It's, I mean, I don't need it
Oh,
right
it's the
now.
one, because you changed your password.
Good. That mean no present.
Right.
Okay, you're right. Thank you.
Priceless.
Whenever you're ready. Okay, whenever she's ready.
Ready? I would like to call this meeting to order. Can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Amy,
Here.
Marianne,
Here.
Jessica,
Here.
Brian,
Here.
Scott,
I am here.
Danielle.
Here.
Dirk.
Here.
May I have a motion and a second to approve the roll?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, to begin the reorganization meeting, I'll be giving the oath of office to our newly elected board member, Jessica Stevens. Stand right up front. Right hand up. I, Jessica Stevens. Support the council. Board member of the board member of the Sweet Home Center. According to the best of my ability.
They use the picture.
She is.
Okay, I need a motion and a second for someone to be appointed as temporary chairperson to conduct the election and balloting for the president of the Board of Education.
I motion that we appoint our board clerk Fallon Darion to the temporary chair.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I call for nominations for the office of school board president for the school year.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Brian Lible.
Second.
Do we have any other nominations? Can I have a motion and a second to close nominations?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion and a second to elect Brian Lible as president of the Sweet Home Board of Education for the school year?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Congratulations, Brian. I'll have you sign the oath of office.
I, Brian Lible. solemnly swear. Constitution. Constitution. I will faithfully discharge the duties of best of my
Did you the Hopsy over there now? Let's wait.
All right, now I'll turn the meeting over to our new president, Brian Leibel.
Are we moving chairs now?
Oh, yes.
Miss you, man. 2.5
You're
seconds.
good, Christine. You're good, Christine. You're good, Christine.
Oh,
Okay. No, that's not mine. Well, yeah, I guess it is. It'll be Scott's.
All right, I'd like to call for nominations for the office of vice president of the Sweet Home School Board. Are there
I
any
would-
nominations?
Yes, I would like to nominate Scott Johnson for the position of Vice President of the Board of Education.
Second.
Any other nominations?
Yes. Yes, I have, I'd like to read a little spiel if I could. Now that you are board president, I know what's your strong conviction for student achievement as our number one goal. I'd like to talk about a board member who would make a great vice president. Someone who will complement and promote student achievement, someone who will support Brian in your role. She has unique qualities for that role, experience in the classroom as a teacher, and today runs her own business with all those skills that it requires. This balance provides an understanding of the needs in the classroom and the need of the community to provide a quality education. She has firsthand knowledge of the impact of a quality education on her family. We need to return our primary focus to student achievement and understand that resources are limited at this time. We had our differences, myself and this person, at first, but with her ability to listen objectively and communicate professionally, together we found that we had similar goals and aspirations for the students at Sweet Home. There is a saying, you can't see the forest through a tree. We need a fresh set of eyes in our board leadership position. Danielle sees the forest and can support our new president with our renewed focus on student achievement. I place a nomination, Danielle Antha for vice president. I need a second.
Well, I appreciate that. I have to decline. I don't feel that I'm ready in my board service term to take on a leadership responsibility at this point. But thank you for all of that. That was very good.
You're really well qualified. Far ready.
Um,
But anyway,
Next year.
thank you. Thank you for letting me do that.
Okay, any other nominations for vice president? All right, can I have a motion, a second to close nominations?
so moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And can I have a motion to elect and select Scott Johnson as vice president for the Sweet Home School Board?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Come on down.
What? Do your thing. Hey, welcome.
Hi.
Welcome.
I couldn't get my friend Jessica to give me a second. I didn't need to.
She turned it on.
I will support the Constitution of the United States. I will faithfully discharge the duties of Vice President of the Sweet Home Board.
Musical chairs.
At least I'm starting to sing that.
Hello.
Okay, next we're going to move on to the superintendent oath of office.
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. State of New York.
Okay, we're going to move on to appointments. I need a motion and a second for consent agendas items 9 through 20. And so we can, so we have appointments for legal counsel, clerk of the district, deputy district clerk, district treasurer, deputy district treasurer, treasurer for extra classroom accounts, district auditor, board secretary, tax collector, under item 9. We have other appointments under item 10. Committee appointments under item 11, which includes special education, the audit committee.
Can I just ask a quick question
Sure.
on the special education part? I noticed it's the same parent for both, and after reading all of these, sometimes 450 pages, is one person enough to, or are we just short, or is one person enough to handle all that representation? Because it just seems like that's a lot.
So we typically, it's always an option to have a parent rep there.
Right,
It is at the
right.
family's choosing if
Discretion,
they would
right.
like that or not. So the person isn't necessarily.
They're
attending
always there.
all.
Okay, I just didn't want it to be, I know after 450 pages, it's just a lot of meetings and,
There is no question. It is a lot of meetings.
okay, thank you. Thanks.
Okay. Item 12 is the appointment for the Erie County Association of School Boards and the New York State School Board Association. 13 is designations, our official bank depositories, signature checks, person to submit bid notices to newspapers, person to open bids, official newspaper, certification of payroll. Item 14, bonding of personnel. Item 15, attendance at educational conference at school expense. 16, adoption of policies and regulations in effect at the close of the school year. This is basically saying those policies will roll over to this year. Item 17, postage checks. 18, school lunch program, and 19, petty cash. Any discussion or questions on those items?
20.
Oh, forgot to turn the page. And item 20, transfer of funds, which is 25,000 for the assistant superintendent, 25 to 50,000 for the superintendent, and anything above 50,000 requires the approval of the Board of Education for transfers.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve as a consent agenda items 9 through 20.
Oh, she just seconded.
Danielle,
Second.
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 All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I,
Motion carries. Okay. We'll now move on to our regular Board of Education voting meeting. Can I have a motion to approve, for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, minutes. Can I have a motion to approve and second to approve the minutes of the previous meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Communications. Does anybody have any communications?
I had heard from a parent that was at graduation, what a nice venue that is. And it would just, she was very happy that we're continuing to use the university. She said it's just a very elegant, it just adds a little class to graduation. So
Any others?
Any communications?
Okay, we'll move on to unfinished business. We have none. And then we'll move to the superintendent's report.
Okay.
Dr. Genestri.
Thank you, Mr. Leibel. We have a couple presentations tonight for the board to move through, including one that regarding our Boulevard Mall redevelopment plan. And we'd like to welcome Mr. Dave Mangione and Liz Burakowski from the town of Amherst's IDA to the podium to present to the board on what is taking place with the Boulevard Mall and the partnership that we'd like to have with the town of Amherst.
Did you want to share them at the screen?
Yeah, sorry about that. Let me put that up here. There it is. Good. Liz, you're all set. Thank you for being here tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you for having us. My name is Liz Burakowski. I'm an attorney with the town of Amherst. I'm also Director of Special Projects for the town. My most special project is the Boulevard Mall. My job is to get that mall redeveloped into something productive. So it's a bit of a challenge, but we're making incredible progress and we're very excited about the direction we're headed in. So my colleague Dave Manjoya from the Amherst IDA is here with me, and we're going to talk to you tonight about where the redevelopment stands and about the concept of a PIF, which I think many of you are probably familiar with already, and what we're proposing relative to this project.
Okay. Sorry about this. It's not working. One moment. My apologies. Try this again. There we go.
Great. I'm sure you're all familiar with the Boulevard Mall at this point. Opened in 1962. It was thriving for over 40 years. It's an excellent location near strong residential neighborhoods, access to expressways, and to UB North campus. I'm sure you're also familiar with the deterioration of the property over the last few decades, and the town's efforts to restart redevelopment. Next slide, please. This shows you just a little bit about the decline in the value of the property. As indoor malls became less popular, the property began to deteriorate both in terms of the quality of retailers that are in it, the amount of revenue it was bringing in, and the physical conditions of the building, as well as the assessed value. You can see there that in 2022, the building was assessed at only $18 million compared to $61 million 3 years before. In fact, for next year, it's assessed at only $15 million. So without us doing anything, it's just going to continue to deteriorate and is not generating any tax revenue for the town, for the county, or for the school district. Next slide, please. So as the town considered what its role is relative to this redevelopment, we thought about these 4 objectives for the town. We want to remove whatever barriers there are to redevelopment. You may be familiar with the idea of the reciprocal easement agreement that exists with the mall. Basically means that one tenant has the ability to prevent anything from happening on that mall site. They can prevent any building from happening on the parking lots. They can prevent any changes in the physical plants, regardless of whether or not it actually directly affects that particular tenant. It's been a massive impediment to development. So that's been the reason we've been considering eminent domain and why we will be proceeding with taking the property by eminent domain. We've also talked about rezoning, which we've done. We've rezoned the mall property to mixed use districts, and there's going to be a slight bit more of rezoning in the next couple of months. And we've also prepared a generic environmental impact statement, which allows us to think about the impacts of redevelopment, but also it's a step that any developers that were going to be on the property would need to do themselves. Now that we've done it, we've saved time and money for the process so that it's just not an obstacle that will delay things any further. We want to see direct revitalization of this site. We don't want to see it sitting around just moldering away. And we want to restore this tax base for you, for the town, for the county. We need to provide a return on the town's investment as well. We're going to be putting in some significant money. We've already spent a lot of money on professional services like engineers and attorneys, and we're going to be doing some bonding relative to this project soon. We need to see money flowing back to offset that investment, which we expect to be happening. And then we just want to attract the normal kind of redevelopment that you would see on any available property, anything that's shovel ready. That's what we want to see happening here. Next slide, please. These are the guiding principles we've considered as we've been working on this and what we've prioritized. What we really want to see is a phased redevelopment of this site. It's over 60 acres, so it's not going to all get redeveloped on day one, but we want to see a rational plan to make this happen. We want to facilitate that plan. We need to see housing development on the site. We know that we have housing shortage in Amherst at all price points, all income levels. And so we need to see different kinds of housing on site to help alleviate that. We need some community green space. We don't want this to just be a forest or, pardon me, a desert of concrete, right? Or asphalt. We want to see integrated mixes of land uses so that we have retail and housing. Ideally, we'd have some office, maybe some other kinds of uses, recreational uses, all on the same property. We certainly need new roads. It's a huge piece of land and there's got to be roads going through it. And then we are also looking to have a community center on site. We just covered some of these things that the town has done in order to help facilitate this redevelopment. You can see that these 4 items here, these are very much public sector powers and duties. Nobody is going to come in from the private sector and exercise eminent domain. They simply can't do it. We need to invest in public infrastructure because, again, nobody's going to do it privately. Planning and zoning is a role reserved to local government, so we're doing it. And we have been applying for grants and receiving grants, most importantly, $31 million from Governor Hochul for the West Side Interceptor Project, which facilitates increase in sewer capacity. So we're very excited about that. And as part of that grant, we've made some commitments to the governor, which includes things like housing and what kind of development is going to be on site. Next slide, please. As it stands, these are our redevelopment partners. You may have seen in the news that Benderson Development purchased the mall itself from Douglas Jamal at the beginning of the year for $15 million. They own the bulk of the site right now. And one of the reasons they're a great partner is because they have a track record of doing commercial development on a large scale, doing it on schedule, doing it on budget, and delivering a high quality product. So we're pleased to have a signed redevelopment agreement with them. They're also a Western New York company founded here and the largest landowner in Amherst. So they are very invested in Amherst. They're not going to do a bad job because this is part of the reputation. This is part of their home. Dave's organization, the IDA, and its related Amherst Development Corporation have some tools, economic development tools that nobody else does, including the power to establish a PIF district and grant tax incentives to eligible projects, which he's going to talk a little bit more about later, but which is a critical part of this project. And then, of course, the school district. We are asking you to partner in the PIF with us. And we know that this redevelopment, particularly because we're talking about hundreds of housing units, could directly impact the school district by bringing a lot of families, a lot of students in to the school district. Next slide, please. That's just an aerial view of the property itself. You can see that it's bounded. If you look at the left side of the drawing, that's north. So that's Maple Road there. Down the bottom is Niagara Falls Boulevard. At the top is Alberta Drive, and just across Alberta is where the Wegmans and the Ashley Furniture is. So you can see how large that building is. You can see how large that piece of property is. Everything that's inside the red line will eventually be taken by eminent domain. We expect that to happen early fall this year, at which point the town will own everything. And we will clear title. So there won't be any of these weird overlapping leases and any impediments from that. After that's done, we will transfer the entire property to Benderson. They will perform the demolition and take down most of the buildings on site. If you can see where the black outline of the roads are, they go north, south, east, west, and meet in the middle of the site. Anything that's under that will have to come down because we're going to have to put the road infrastructure as well as the utility infrastructure in there. So you can see that that's the bulk of the mall that's going to come down.
So can I just ask, because I'm trying to orient myself here.
Yes.
So I know there's the M&T Bank, there's a Chili's,
Yes.
there's, is that included in the?
No, the bank we're not taking because there's federal law and it's very complicated, so we're staying away from that. The Chili's will be included, but my understanding is that Benderson plans to keep the Chili's because it's very popular.
Popular, right?
And then in between the two, there's an auto shop.
Right.
We're not taking the auto shop.
Okay, so that's
So-
kind of outside that red line.
Yes.
Not going to be affected. Got it. Thank you. Thank you.
So basically, everything else within that large block is going to be taken.
Got it. Thank you.
So
So I'm sorry, this is probably for after, but if the eminent domain comes through early fall and then you transfer everything to Benderson, will they start demolition in the winter or will they wait for spring?
they would love to start demolition tomorrow. If we told them they could do it tomorrow, they'd do it tomorrow. So they are ready to go and they will start as soon as they can. And they are very used to working through the weather as much as possible. So I expect that those buildings will be down. They're not going to be waiting around for it.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So do you have to have like a traffic study before they start tearing down just to get, I mean, environmental, traffic, all those things? And we know just from projects we've done, it takes a bit.
So when I talked about the GEIS earlier, that includes all of that. We've already done it. So traffic study, all the environmental considerations, the wetlands, all of that stuff has already been done. So the only thing that Benderson will have to do is show that their project is consistent with the existing GEIS. So if it's within the parameters that are set in the GEIS, they can do a negative declaration and away they go. Very easy. And for exactly what you're saying, that's why we did it, so that there'd be no waiting around at that point. Okay, next slide, please. We're looking for mixed-use development. We don't want this to just be another giant parking lot, even though we love what's up the boulevard farther where, you know, the Target is, that's all great. We don't want it to just be a giant parking lot. So we want to see mixed use to the extent that it's possible, mixed income. This shouldn't just be luxury housing. We're very concerned about workforce housing in particular and affordable housing. Affordable housing is probably a lot more expensive than you think it is in terms of rental rates. If you're thinking about Section 8 housing, that's not what we're talking about. It's possible that there could be Section 8 housing on the site, but what's more likely is that it would be workforce workforce actually qualifies under the federal definition of affordable housing. We're talking about 80% of the area median income is what would qualify you to live in one of these apartments. So, Dave, do you know what that rent looks like?
Yeah, we just updated. So the numbers are issued by US Housing and Urban Development every year. And I think it's around 1,400 for a 1-bedroom. Goes to 1,550 for a 2 and 16.
So I think for most of us, we would consider that to still be very middle class. And it helps solve one of the problems in Amherst, which is that you want to work here, but it's very difficult to afford to live here. So
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just on the workforce housing, the other thing we've done is like a policy. Took the Amherst only numbers on workforce, those numbers would increase dollars a month. So we're using the county-wide average on that. Look at those incomes to make it even more affordable over what would just be a regular 80% Amherst only.
Okay.
Sorry.
So let me try to understand this a little better. So Benderson will own the property. Benderson has the right to develop under the guidelines given by who? Who gives them what can be developed?
We do.
And
we-
where does the governor, where's the state interact with that?
Where does the governor act with that?
Didn't you say
So,
there's some
I
kind of
understand what you're
tie
saying.
back to having certain types of,
So when we
Yeah,
received the
thank you.
grant for the West Side Interceptor from the governor's office, what we agreed to was a certain number of housing units on site. There's a larger geographic boundary, which is called the TAZ, which is much bigger than the Boulevard Mall. And we've agreed to approximately 1,500 housing units within the TAZ. What that works out to for this project is somewhere between 400 and 600 units on the Boulevard Mall site. So that's part of the promise that we've made to the governor, and it's our job to make sure that whoever's building the housing, whoever we award the contract to for the housing, has to adhere to those promises that we made to the governor.
And
But
that's the workforce housing.
Some of it will be workforce housing, but we expect it to be mixed income. So everything from affordable and workforce up to luxury housing. We do not expect it to be single-family housing. This will be apartment buildings, townhouses, things like that.
so that again is outside of Benderson purview? They don't have the right to do the TAZ also, or are you jabbing
They
that
have
out?
no further rights to the TAZ other than what they've acquired elsewhere. I don't know if they have other things outside the Boulevard Mall property, but for our purposes, just the Boulevard Mall, just the 64 acres of the Boulevard Mall is what we're talking about.
And J.C. Penney's is not going to fight you on the eminent domain?
Well, they fought us twice and they lost twice in court. So I don't know if they're up for it again. But the way the eminent domain works
That's why I said-
is they can challenge the valuation. We have to give them just compensation when we take their property. They can challenge that, but they can't, as long as we've done our procedure properly, which we have, and as long as we get permission from the judge, which we will, we can take the property and then you fight the value later, but they can't stop the taking once we've gotten permission from the judge.
Okay.
And
Let's
you've
do
got
that.
statistics to, because there's a lot of housing that seems to be going up, apartments. You've got data behind you to support that these apartments are not going to sit vacant.
Absolutely,
Okay.
yes.
So,
We have a colleague in the planning department at the town who's done extensive work on this. I'm not as familiar with that information, but we could get you some if you like.
that'd be great. Thank
Okay.
you.
Can I just ask a quick question too?
Mhm.
Regarding your environmental impact statement, is that complete or
Yes.
is that? I know that there's usually a period of time that's open for public comment.
It was approved a couple years ago, actually. We are amending it right now to update things like the mitigation fees. That they just closed the public hearing at the board meeting yesterday, the town board meeting yesterday. But we can proceed in the meantime. It's just tightening the data a little bit. So that'll go through the normal approvals process. The public comment period, I believe, is closed at this point. But it's just an update to the already approved GEIS that was done a couple years ago.
Okay, and all that's public.
Yes.
Did you get a lot of comments?
You know what? I don't know. I came in just after they did it, so
Because a lot of times we put that month out for public comments. We don't get so much. I just wondered.
I think there were more comments from the landowners than the general public. right?
Oh,
Because
okay.
the way the district has been planned by the town with respect to zoning, it actually makes it more restrictive on what the commercial developers can do. Properties, there's a higher standard of landscaping, higher standard of parking lot treatments, higher standard of lighting. So I think that was some of the comments back, pushback from the owners, but for the most part, I think it was, updating traffic counts, and a lot of this was done to make the sites in that area shovel ready, right? So these would be normal things that developers would have to do when they're submitting a site plan, and now we've kind of accelerated that for them. In order to leverage that, and as Liz said, we got $31 million sewer upgrade for the state. The town spent another 10 million on top of that, so
Right.
it wasn't
Right.
really, but it takes care of that whole kind of southwest portion of the town with respect to sewer capacity. That's a big impediment on these sites. If you think about washers, sinks and showers and everything. That's introduced over what would be there.
I went back to do some research on all of this because I was really interested in it. I know for a while, they were digging sewers, and then it stopped. And the rumor was things fell through, they weren't gonna push forward on the sewer development, but that's not going to be an issue, right? You've got the funding for it now.
Yes, absolutely. For the sewer related to this project, yes, absolutely.
I think it's right out front.
It is.
It
right out
is.
front.
It's happening right out front.
Right out front.
You've gotten caught in the traffic.
Yeah, I have.
We get daily updates every day.
I just want to also mention structured parking. At this moment in time, there are no plans by Benderson to add a parking structure. However, with that long-term phase out, 20-year phase out, we would be delighted to have a parking structure because that would allow for more density on the site, both in terms of the commercial development and in terms of the housing development. And the site, the portions of the site that particularly interest us with structured parking are being rezoned to Center 8, which is a mixed-use district, and it allows for up to 8 stories in a building. But with this particular site, we've created another zoning category so that if you're willing to build structured parking into your building, you can get an extra 2 floors. So you could have structured parking either underground, which I don't think anyone's going to do that, but you could have like your first 2 floors structured parking and then have 8 stories of housing on top, which could make sense as things go on. We haven't had anyone say they want to build 10 stories right now, but this would allow for structured parking, which would allow for greater development on site and, help us reach all of the other goals that we have.
The mixed use, when you what is the definition of that? What kind of categories are we looking at?
So mixed use typically would think of a neighborhood like the Village of Williamsville, where you have commercial and housing and recreational all sort of in the same area. You can have a building.
Categories.
Yeah, and you can have a building that has multiple uses within it. Whereas if you did, shopping center, it's a shopping center. So this allows for a more diverse, more integrated neighborhood so that you can actually do things in your neighborhood that you want to do and not have to just get in your car and go someplace else. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is Dave now. He's going to talk about money.
Thank you. Again, David Manjoya, Town of Amherst IDA, also the Development Corporation. So some of you may remember this. I think we were here probably just about 5 years ago now, right? I do remember some of the faces. So I was here with the former supervisor talking about PIF and pilot increment financing and what it means and how we're going to use it. And it really is a model and a template for what we want to accomplish here. We have a contract and documents that would speak to it and we can readily modify. But the concept allows IDA eligible projects in a defined geographic zone to generate revenues into a fund. Right now, we collect pilots, we remit those pilots directly back to the taxing jurisdictions. In this particular case, and this is looking at the Northtown Center project, Amherst Central Park, that's kind of a loose diagram there outlined in yellow. The Northtown Center and some of the ball diamonds are plopped in there. This was put in place for the 716 Health Building, and we had anticipated other buildings. We think that's the only one that's going to be constructed on this. And if you recall, we put this in place for 5 years, and the 5 years is up this fall, and we're not asking for an extension on that. I think the town is looking at additional recreation improvements and less of commercial development or selling any of this land to private developers, which would create pilots potentially and capitalize those funds. So in this particular model, we collected the pilot on the 716 building and remitted it primarily to a fund which helped create the Northwest Community Center. And I think that was a goal for the school district that went back a number of years. And I think we all consider that a great success. And I know the town's proud of the programming and the effort that went into developing that. But what the PIF did is it kind of collected a revenue and created a revenue stream to pay off some of the bonds and the lease on that property that the town has for it. And then there were additional revenues that went to recreating a few of the softball diamonds and some improvements of the Northtown complex. And then there was also some revenues that then came back to the taxing jurisdictions as part of the pilot. And I think we're looking to take that model and that successful partnership we had with the school district and the town and transfer it here to pay for some bonding things. So next slide, please. So it's a very busy slide. This is kind of the financial costs. As Liz mentioned, there's a lot of legal, engineering, planning, some purchasing. She mentioned that we had a question about JCPenney. We have to buy them for something, and we've got some estimates on what we think that'll be, but ultimately, either JCPenney is going to agree to a price or the court will decide that. We're proposing and looking into enter into a public-private partnership with the geography, the outline of the line to be limited just to the Boulevard Mall site. Liz mentioned the TAS and what Benderson might do offsite or another developer might do offsite. That'll be something else. We're just looking at that red boundary that was up there to be the boundary of the PIF for this particular project. The revenues collected on IDA eligible projects, and this one's a little different than Northtown. Northtown, we anticipated all the projects would be IDA eligible. We don't anticipate that by any stretch of the imagination on this one, and I'll shoot on the next slide when I get done with this one, but only applies to IDA eligible projects. So it really only applies to the mixed use projects that might have residential and some office and some first floor service or retail in it. The bulk of Benderson developments, the entertainment, the retail, the restaurant, there's talk of maybe lodging. All those things will be 100% taxed as if they would be a regular project. So you would receive all those revenues. We would have the PIF funds we would collect through the pilots on the IDA projects would pay for bonds that will be let and some expenditures associated with the costs here. Liz will get into something about the community center and another benefit to the school district in a few minutes. But we're looking at a three, and I guess it'd be a four-party agreement. Again, the Development Corporation, it's a kind of a sister entity to the IDA would also be party to it. To create the PIF, it would direct the pilots to a fund that would pay for agreed upon expenses. We're looking at a 20-year term. And again, the taxing jurisdictions would receive 100% of the new property taxes and special district charges on non-IDA projects. And again, we have a draft agreement and template. And the next slide will give you an idea kind of what we're talking about in terms of order of magnitude and revenues. So we've done some modeling. We've done some baseline, somewhat conservative modeling on, and I would split this slide into IDA versus non-IDA projects. So on the left side in the box is everything the IDA is not going to participate in. And this will be something that's collected fully by the school district, the town, and the county. And again, this applied to all the retail, restaurant, entertainment, lodging. And we're looking at a baseline assessment that's 4 times what it is, as Liz mentioned. We'll be down to 15 million and declining this year. And our baseline is that alone will be 60 million within a few years. That would collect if, depending on when the buildings are phased in, and in our conversations with the private development community, they're ready to get cracking on it. I think as Liz mentioned, if they could, they would demo tomorrow. We're looking forward to it. Everybody likes ribbon cuttings and, just kind of getting the old golden shovels out and doing groundbreaking. So we're itching to get after it. But that would, at 60 million, I mean, that would be, $36 million in total property tax revenues over 20 years. And the bulk of that would come to the school district. And again, non-abated, that would be something to receive 100% of. On the mixed use, we're looking at a similar amount of property value just because those projects are vertical. As Liz mentioned, the zoning will allow for 8+2. We'll see what the market ultimately bears on this. We've had some developers that have talked 5. When I mentioned they can build 8, it kind of perked their ears up a little bit. So I think we'll see that happen. And the residential and those projects, mixed use, will probably be dispersed throughout the site. We thought they might be concentrated in one section, but I think we're looking at a larger, more master planned community at this point. And again, the property taxes collected on those section of projects will be capitalized into a PIF fund and paying for those bonds and those town costs that are incurred. Next slide. So we kind of threw this in here before we got into another specific on what we would offer you, but I think we're looking at probably on the order of 1 million to 1.2 million square feet of, high quality, mixed use, residential, commercial development that's going to generate a long-term return for everybody in the community. I think every time we drive by it, and especially at night, because it looks like, it's not something anybody's proud of. We've come up, I think, with a successful path and a model working through a number of years. We actually, started this right after the auction took place, and we were actually in conversations with them. But the true catalyst is when Jamal sold to Benderson, and we were able to, deal primarily with one developer. But I think we're looking to create those housing components that are missing. And we're also looking to create an active community center with a large school district component and an adjacent park. We kind of didn't get into this. There's some green space over there that would be by the location. So I think I'll turn it back over to Liz at this point.
So this drawing shows you where the BAC is there on the site. Hopefully you can see the red outline down at the bottom of the photo there. And I know it's a little hard to see the photo there of what the building actually looks like. It used to be a fully functioning BAC. You may have been a member over there. It's a 2-story building. It's got about 18,000 square feet of usable space there. And it's been heated and maintained this entire time, so it's in surprisingly good shape. Last time I was in there, we were looking at, we were really surprised at the condition of it and how good it was, that a lot of the spaces that are in there only need paint and carpet and a little bit of updating, which was a big shock to us. So the town will hold a 30-year lease on this property. Benderson will continue to own it. They do own it now. They will continue to own it, and they will lease the space to us for 30 years. We have talked about having a community center in that building, occupying the entire building. Our lease does allow us to sublet to eligible sublessees, basically not-for-profits, educational, nothing that would compete with the commercial entities on site. Fair enough. And what we've been talking about when we met with Mr. Feldman and Dr. Genestri, and we talked about what could we do that would be a good project that the school district would get from the PIF that would be advantageous for you and for us. The first thing that came up was the co-location of the school district's offices over at this community center building. It frankly would help us solve a problem, which is a large building that we don't actually need that much of. It sounds like it would solve a problem for you and that you need new office spaces. And I think it's an attractive mix of uses in the same building. Certainly some of the community uses that would be in the building, while they're not set yet, we would expect to try to target things that would be of interest to people who are coming to the school district office, probably parents and families. Next slide, please. So these drawings here, these are just concept level drawings of what could happen. This is not agreed upon. These aren't engineered. This is really just our architect sat and did some brainstorming and did some drawing. So each drawing is one floor of the building. The floor on the left is the first floor. And you can see that the main entrance to the building is sort of at the top of the drawing where the white space is. You can see that the parking lot has a sidewalk connection up there to an open concourse area. And what our architect did here was put the actual school district offices, the staff offices, the confidential spaces, the more secure spaces up on the second floor, because then it could be, separated from the community center aspect. But then on the first floor, there are community spaces, including a large multipurpose room, I would imagine much like this, that could be used for board meetings, for trainings, for all kinds of meetings, for different kinds of events, just a large space that could be shared between the town and the school board. And then you can see that those purple, yellow, red spaces, green spaces, those are all different kinds of community service spaces. Those could be town offices, they could be a third party, not-for-profit provider or something like that. Each of these spaces were kind of drawn out to take advantage of where the existing walls are, existing offices, to try to minimize the amount of heavy construction that would have to happen. But what you would get here, you can look at the drawing on the right, you can see sort of the pink space would give you a number of administrative offices. It would give you space for your your staff, your secretaries, your paralegals, whoever you have here. And then it would give you kitchen space, bathrooms, that sort of thing. So I think that, just as a concept, this gives you an idea of what we're talking about here, but that would be something that would be very much a collaborative effort to design the space and figure out what works best for you. Of course, we would need to, figure out the security. I think you guys probably have somewhat tighter security requirements than we do for town buildings, but that's not a problem. Obviously, we can do that. And again, having the district office on the second floor, there is elevator, having it on the second floor might help increase the security. So that's just one concept. If you go to the second slide, it sort of shows you the reverse, having the district on the first floor and then the town on the second floor. Just for your edification, just something to consider. Again, nothing set. The way we understand this, or the way we would propose this, is that the town would use funds from the PIF fund to build out this space, both for the school district and for the town spaces. We are not sure if any of this would be state aidable, but if it is, we'd like to discuss that. We'd certainly like to take advantage of that. We would not expect the school district to pay rent during the term of the PIF. So 20 years, no rent, free building to you. The school district would be responsible, of course, for furniture and equipment and everything, the contents of your space. Again, we would use the PIF funds to do this. Likely, we would bond out the money for the build out, and then we would use the PIF to service the debt. So that's our concept here. We are hoping that you're excited about this redevelopment. We're hoping that you're interested in participating in the PIF. Honestly, it doesn't work without the school district. You guys know that you collect the large portion of the property taxes, and without that, this doesn't work. So we're asking you to participate in that. We're asking you to give us feedback on the idea of moving your office over here. We hope that this can be a really positive thing that benefits both of us. So if you have questions, we'd be happy to answer them. And if you're interested in seeing the space, we are happy to arrange a visit for you so that you can, get a better idea than just a little flat drawing. We'll do what we need to do to make this work. So.
Liz, oh, sorry.
I was going to say before we open up for questions that we've certainly appreciated the open lines of communications, not just with both of you and willing to meet with us every time we ask. And even when there's an update, you call us and want to come over, but the supervisor's office from Supervisor Culpa and now Supervisor Lavin the communications has been great. And we really appreciate the partnership back and forth. This project kind of just, when it was proposed, and the supervisor, when we met with him, said, do you have any need for office space? And Don and I looked at each other and said, well, funny you say that, because we know as part of our $90.5 million capital project that we're talking about moving our office out here, and that having this space is an instructional space primarily for the Ready Academy, moving over here from Dexter Terrace. And so this potential of this project in moving our district office over to the former Buffalo Athletic Club would save that money that we designated, and we could reallocate that for other purposes inside the $90.5 million project, which we're going to need every penny of it when we're renovating our elementary schools, the fields, et cetera, that we want to do. So we saw this as kind of weird how it all puzzled together and came together in total partnership with the town of Amherst, and we just really appreciate that. So that's why we've been kind of talking about this as the potential project in association with the PIF, because it serves a lot of purposes for us. And just the redevelopment of the entire site, what a tremendous opportunity that is for Sweet Home. I mean, that's going to be a complete game changer. We're going to have a lot of work, especially as our enrollment continues to increase because of this. However, it's a great problem to have, right? And so not only the tax revenue that can be generated from the site for the district, but the increase in enrollment that comes with it is exciting as well. So we're again, just can't thank you enough for the communications moving back and forth.
Dr. Genesi, and just for the good of the board too, the timing of this. So in the capital project that was approved by our voters back in December, if you remember, it's a 4-phased project. The phase, ironically, phase 3, which is actually phase 4, but phase 3 included us moving over to Dexter Terrace. And the timing of it would be that we would likely be in Dexter Terrace the start of the 2030, 2031 school year. Okay, so that timing works out very well for these folks. Dr. Genestri talked about puzzle pieces fitting, and honestly, they matched up really well in this instance. I'll just piggyback onto what Dr. Genestri had said. In the construction estimate, in the project estimate, we have about $1.2, $1.3 million set aside for the renovation work at Dexter Terrace to get our district offices over to that place in Dexter Terrace. And I'll just talk about kind of the process that we went through just really quickly. That was one that we tried to make, obviously, the dollars fit in the budget that we had. So while we have $1.2 million over there, it sounds like a lot. It really isn't in the grand scheme of things. So we would move into a building and it wouldn't look much different than it currently does. So we would have to probably address that setting in a future capital project to get it to more of a district office type setting. This situation would be, we would walk in and it would be ready for us from that end of things. So the timing does work well from that standpoint. And to Dr. Genestri's point, we can likely repurpose those dollars that were earmarked for the renovations and improvements at Dexter to help the project in other areas, potentially with alternates and things like that, that we may not have been able to address in the initial scope. Further, and I don't know, Dr. Jensen, if you want to talk about the BOCES piece of it with Erie One BOCES and the rental there. If you
Yeah,
want to talk a little bit
and
about
so that would also leave the space open for further rental opportunities and revenue opportunities for the district. Obviously, if we were occupying a large space at Dexter Terrace, that removes the potential for revenue from either BOCES or some other entity that would want to rent classroom space from Dexter Terrace. So there's a lot of positives that are with this and a lot of cost savings for the district, honestly, and a potential even revenue generation from Dexter Terrace. So there's a lot of good potential with this project.
Liz or Dave, could you guys talk a little bit about your timing of the PIF, when you would need the PIF in place from that standpoint? Because we are under a bit of a time crunch, and I just want to make sure that the board understands that.
Yes, initially we were feeling very comfortable that if we had it by the end of the year, that would be great. Well, we likely to buy out JCPenney's and Bridgestone, the town is probably going to have to bond somewhere between $1 and $5 million as our estimate, our guess. We're not exactly sure how much money. In order to do that, what we would like to be able to show the rating agency is that we have revenue to back these bonds. And we will need to do that borrowing probably Labor Day-ish. So we would like to get a PIF as soon as we possibly can in order to be able to demonstrate that we have this. I mean, yeah, I'm ready if you're ready. All I have to do is change the names on the agreement.
You joke, but.
I mean, honestly, ideally, before school starts, for sure.
So we're looking at our August meeting to
Well,
discuss.
I think, and one thing that Dave and Liz mentioned is that we have history here. And I was fortunate to come into the district while the PIF was being, I think about halfway through. And so I got really intimately familiar with the process, as did Mr. Feldman. And working with our attorneys, I asked Mr. Kuzma to be here tonight to hear this, because we know we've got to move quickly with this, as if the board is in favor of this, obviously. And so moving this project quickly is going to be helpful and beneficial for us all. But having history with the town in developing this, we know some of the pitfalls we ran into last time, I would say, and we could certainly avoid that now. So
Yes, we've gotten better at this.
yeah, both sides, right?
Yes.
I mean, if we could work towards it, I mean, we'd like to have, you know, a draft document circulated in the next probably this
Mhm.
month. And
Yep.
then hopefully if everything works out right, have it on your agenda in August.
So for those of us that have not been here for that
The
whole,
PIF?
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna fully admit to you right now that I don't understand what this PIF is.
We are
going
happy
do.
to walk you
So,
through it as many
okay.
times as you need.
Yep.
Absolutely.
My knowledge of what a PIF is like this big, but I feel like what I need to understand is much, much greater.
Very common. Most people don't understand it. We
Okay.
are happy to give it to you in small bites and give it to you repeatedly, whatever you need.
you.
Whoever needs a primer on it, we're happy to do it.
So we have another new board member here also who probably.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things in the agreement, and of course I'll share as the drafts come, are the details in there. And like I said, I mean, we'll sit down too and obviously go through that line by line, whatever the board needs to fully get it and understand it. I didn't know what it was when I got here and got a crash course in it pretty quickly. So it'll come in.
This
Can I just-
property.
Can I take you back and just tell me, where's the money coming from to build all this? Is it all being done by Benderson? And then why are you taking revenue from other structures to pay for the BAC building?
So-
And who's paying the lease over those 20 years?
The town will be paying the lease over those 20 years. Yes.
All right.
The entire purpose of the PIF is to essentially make the town whole for the investments that it's making in this property. So we are working very hard to constrain those investments to just absolutely what needs to be done. Benderson will be, all of that is private development. All of the commercial will be private development. The housing, also private, although the housing certainly could qualify if someone were interested in LIHTC or other sources of affordable housing development funding, that they would be welcome there.
LIHTC is
sorry.
low-income housing tax credits. There's different tax credits depending on, I don't want to get the ABCs and acronym things on you. So there's different state sources out there if you would blend in different affordable products into the housing development. So that may help with the capital stack of how some of those projects are financed, but primarily it's all private developer. It's either self-funding, which
Mhm.
Benderson does a lot of their own, or it's going out to equity investors and financial institutions.
So the housing developer or developers have not been selected yet. That is part of a process that we are still engaging in. But it will be private entities. It will not be public entities that are going to be doing the housing.
Okay, so the town bonds some money to start this project.
Mhm.
Then they have a commitment of a lease that somehow that seems like it's a negative for the town all the way
Well,
around.
it's a negative if you only forget about the fact that we want this space to be able to use it for town purposes. So we do have to bond them. It's normal what we would do for a capital project, a renovation of a building. We would bond the money and then have to service the debt. The PIF does allow us to do it using the revenues, tax revenues from this construction.
Okay, all right. I'd love to see the spreadsheet when you get it. Thank you.
Can I ask you, for heat, electric, water, we would be responsible for that inside that building,
Yes,
for our part of it?
yes.
And as someone that was here for the community project and the PIF and everything that went with it, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you the same question that I think I asked you at that meeting. What is the downside for the district? I mean, it sounds all but I also want to make sure that our district isn't under some liability and
Yeah, there's no liability that comes with the PIF. It's a financing tool. And really, you know, the IDA has the ability under state law to exempt projects from taxes as long as they meet certain use. Right? We couldn't do Costco. Not that I think it would have been a good idea anyway, right? We couldn't debate Costco. We couldn't do the Dick's House of Sports, those types of things anyway. But what the PIF is essentially allowing us to do is collect not only school district revenues, but the town's going to agree to their revenues as well, and then direct it towards specific payments. And then you'll have the benefit of all the other non-abated stuff that Benderson and maybe other private developers will do, will just come in as regular tax revenue as the majority of properties in your district.
I would like to be one of those people that walks through BAC just to see the in-person type things, because it's kind
Yeah.
of difficult to.
Probably most of the group.
Yeah.
Arrange it for the board.
That's the
No problem.
concept of it. Thank you.
Go ahead, Brian.
The, the property itself is going to be owned by Benderson?
Yes,
Okay.
whichever
that-
developer builds, right? So Benderson will own whatever they build. If there's another developer who builds housing, they will own what they build.
So the district will have a landlord that we will be dealing with?
The town will be your landlord.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And what I would just in the, discussions, want to make sure that, if we, there was a mixed use room, for instance, that, should be used, for instance, for board meetings, I don't want to get in there and then find out the room's being used by for other activities or other things. These are the kind of things on a practical level. I would just want to make sure that we're, at least asking questions about.
Yes.
Yeah, there was
So
one thing.
yes, of course, it has to work for you. If it doesn't work, then there's no point in doing it. So yes, we are mindful of that and we will continue to be so.
Yeah, one thing we definitely talked about in our meetings was having a community space like Virgil's. So a new Virgil's basically, because it's not only used for board meetings, but we use this room a ton for professional development. Other meetings throughout the year, this space is used quite a bit. And so that's important to us to have.
And if it needs to be your exclusive space, if your demand on it is that big, then that can be your exclusive space. We can figure out ways to make it work. There's a ton of space there. We don't need all of it. And we want to make sure that the space would work for you.
We've already engaged our construction managers in just preliminary from campus construction and preliminary discussions. They would like to come and see the space as well. So we'll have campus with us and their advice and guidance along the way. Who is our construction manager for the building project?
And that actually leads into my next question. I know you sent us some concepts here on the plans of what it would look like. In my mind, and I'm sure in their mind, it needs to look different than that. And I get why you did what you did. Would it be your people or our architects, Young and Wright, that would be designing this stuff for us, I guess? Because I know you're building it, so that comes into play too.
Right. I think there could be a couple different options. I mean, we could hire somebody and design the whole thing. We could hire someone to design our bit and you could hire someone to design your bit and then just have the two work in close collaboration. I think probably having one is probably better than two. But we need to make sure that we have the appropriate kind of architects and engineers too. So we'll figure it out.
Yeah, this was developed in-house by the town with their own architect. We haven't hired anybody yet to do this.
No,
Okay.
no, that's.
And I
you
get
know,
it's a simple concept.
That's
here,
at
all,
least
to
a
show
next
that it
year
can be done.
problem, not a this year problem for us.
That's not a tomorrow problem.
Not tomorrow, no.
Yeah, we would likely engage Young and Wright at least in a conversation, who's our architect, and had a concept for our district office at Dexter Terrace as well. So maybe there's some basic concepts that are already been done that we can meld.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and from my point of view on the surface, I think it's a great idea. As long as we work out the details, why we have Nate here working with us today. And it looks good to me.
So if 10 years into this, like what happened at our middle school, there was a hailstorm and it messed up our roof. If we had to replace the roof, who would be responsible for doing that?
I don't remember who's responsible for the roof, but I think it's Benderson. We have in our lease, it's clearly
That will
outlined
be
what,
clearly spelled out.
yes, I know
Be the
that.
district, Mary Ann.
I don't want any surprise.
Yeah, no, I know.
Of
no, I
course,
know, I
of course. I know that the town is responsible for things like the HVAC, for maintaining the parking, for maintaining the sidewalks, things like that.
Like potholes and things like that.
Yeah, so there's clear delineation in our lease what that is. I can't imagine we'd say
Right.
we demand that the school district buy a paving machine to do that. I mean, it's,
We're not gonna ask you to do. that.
I get it. I
Right.
just want the I
Typically-
just want to mention for,
Sure.
when we've done community center spaces with other private developers, usually what happens inside the space is the responsibility of the tenant, and what happens in the envelope is usually the responsibility of either us or the developer landlord.
I'll just say, I was here for the Northtown Community Center PIF agreement. And while I may not understand all the ins and outs, I don't have the degrees that you all have to make sure that I understand it all. I do know that that project went off pretty well, and it's been a very successful project for the district. So I wouldn't have an issue getting them the PIF by August. So, my opinion.
so while I got you up there.
Yeah.
I got a quick,
Thumbs.
Here comes a Costco question.
moving along with Costco to open in the fall.
That
It
is
was
not,
supposed to be summer.
that is not one of my special projects, but as I understand it, yes,
Need
it is
somebody
on track to open in the fall.
Liz,
Um,
if you could get Miss Jason like a VIP pass at the ribbon cutting,
Anything.
we'll sign anything.
How's this? Next time I speak to my colleague from Benderson, I'll ask him for an update on that and see what I can find out for you.
I would think they'd want to be open for the holidays, right?
I would
Probably
think.
would.
Yeah.
And not November, December, probably.
Well, we kind of thought
September-ish.
like
to schools.
the spring holidays, then we thought the summer holidays, then
I'm
we
waiting
thought
for
the
my
back to
chicken.
school.
I'll see what I can do. I'll get you one of the hot dogs at the very least. Yes, they're $1.50.
That's it.
Yes,
Hot dog.
That's
we'll get
it.
you a hot dog. So
For all
we're,
the time with this. I know it's a
Oh, of
lot of
course.
work
Thank you for
and
giving
and
us
the
this much time. We
partnership.
really appreciate it.
yes. So we'll be in contact to arrange a site visit to the building. We will try to arrange a sort of a briefing session for anyone who wants to talk more about PIFs and understand that better.
We could do it remote too, if you
Yep.
wanted
Yeah,
to,
great.
if that works out schedule wise, we could set up a Zoom.
Set it
or
up.
Something, so.
I will send over the housing estimates information. I will send you the information from the comments to the GEIS and any that were received on the supplement. I think those are the things on my plate right now. Is there anything else anyone would like that I can do for you?
Could I actually get the whole EIS?
You could, it's enormous, but
I'm assuming there's a digital.
yes,
Okay.
yes. So
Yeah,
I
you should be able
will,
to download.
yes, it's enormous. So enjoy it, make some time.
That was my former life.
Oh, okay,
so
good, good.
Just curious.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Covered fraction of.
Okay.
Everything.
Our last presentation for the evening is our annual attendance procedures and wellness plan update. And Mr. Feldman, thanks, Dave.
Thanks,
Leads
Dave.
that group. So Don, if you're on.
Okay, hard act to follow, but we'll try. We'll do our best. Thank you very much. This is our annual kind of update from the District Wellness Committee. You see all of our members of the District Wellness Committee listed on the board there. I won't read them to you, but it is a cross-section of administrators, supervisors, teachers, parents, school counselors, et cetera. And our primary responsibility for the District Wellness Committee is to annually review our district attendance procedures as well as our district wellness plan. So we have some very minor changes to each. This is recommended for change in this, and you all have copies on the board of the full plan both the attendance procedures as well as the wellness plan. The changes that we're recommending to the attendance procedures specifically deal with daily school attendance interventions. And there's some information there about what happens prior to the start of school. Prior to the start of school, we annually send letters home to parents, letting them know the importance of student attendance. And we talk about things like impact of tardiness and long-term attendance. And we also provide an opportunity for them to have information about an excuse, an absence excuse form. One of the things that we'd like to be able to do, and that's noted in red, is that we will put that absence note excuse on our district website. So that's easily downloadable so that parents, when kids come back from absences, they can have that note readily available for turning in when they come back to school. Next slide, please, Mike. So essentially now what we're recommending is in the plan that is currently, or that was currently in place for the 25-26 school year, there were really honestly three intervention periods. We're actually making a recommendation to do 4 interventions or beyond from that end of things. So the first intervention really is a letter that's sent home to the parent regarding the student's attendance information. The letter would encourage the parent or person in the relationship with the student to talk with their student about the importance of attendance, and that also that if the problem with attendance continues, that there may be additional interventions that may occur. So that's just a language change there. The second intervention, and this is kind of where we split things up, the second intervention would be really a conference with the parents at the school. The second intervention recommendation now is that we would send a letter home to parents encouraging the parents to make a conference and schedule a conference in the buildings with the building administrator to talk about their students' attendance. And then the third one, if in an instance where either mom or dad do make the appointment to meet with the group at the building, or if we don't hear back from them, the third intervention is that actual conference where they talk about items related to school attendance and talk about support things that might be in place for the student, including referrals to the Family Support Center, community support groups, and then potentially, down the line, if the attendance continues to be poor, possible actions, including home visits or referral to Child Protective Services.
Don, who conducts the home visits in an instance like that?
Could be a counselor. We've done with the SRO, things
Assistant
along those.
principals.
Building administrators also have done them in the past as well, so can be a myriad of folks. And then the last intervention, after we get to the 3 interventions, this is really kind of looking at further interventions based upon the student attendance problems. If it's generally that 10-day marker in each of the marking periods, that if a student is absent 10 or more days, we would go into these interventions that it exceeds. This last intervention would be that, and the message to the parents that the absences exceed the total number of days allowable. And then we would talk about formal sanctions such as potentially the referral to the CSE for reevaluation of appropriate placement, or a referral to Child Protective Services. So it really just adds an extra layer there. It used to be we went right to a conference. The recommendation from the group is to send a letter home to parents first and asking them to schedule the meeting with the building principals or a building team in this instance. So we've just added that kind of that extra layer. So those are the recommended changes to the attendance plan and procedures. The only plan change that we have to the local wellness party, I'm looking at parties and I'm saying about parties, the local wellness policy we talk about class parties in a school celebration food list. In our local wellness policy, we list allowable foods that come into the district for things like celebrations, birthday parties, etc. The recommended change is that we remove Enjoy Life baked chewy bars, caramel apple, caramel blondie, cocoa loco. That's Dirk's favorite, Sunseed Butter Crunch, because those products are discontinued. Those products are discontinued. So we would just ask that the recommendation would be that we would remove those from the list of allowable foods. And those are the recommended changes to both the attendance policy and procedures as well as the wellness plan. Any questions at all?
Don, I have one. For the excuse form, will it be a fillable form that they can email in, or does it need to have a wet signature on it? Like, they need to actually?
We can probably do a combination of both. One of the things that we're really looking at doing, obviously, Ms. Battaglia, is with translation services and things along those lines. We're hopeful that, we're doing some things in Power School with Enrollment Express to allow things to be able to do that and use Power School as kind of a tool from that other thing. So we're hopeful that, we can digitize more of these forms and allow them to be more easily translated.
And for class parties, we're removing, Dirk's favorites for sure, but are we adding any?
We are not.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Tom. And then I just have a couple updates. We have Ms. Delaplant in the house tonight, but want to congratulate Glendale Elementary School on being recertified as a Leader in Me Lighthouse School. Our other 3 buildings, I believe Maplemere and Willridge have already gone through it. Heritage is on track for recertification as well. But Glendale's came in this week, and we want to say congratulations to Glendale Elementary. I have engaged the town of Amherst, Amherst Police Department and our SRO in a conversation on e-bikes and e-scooters. And I know I've talked briefly with the policy committee about this, but this summer, I'd like to, by the August meeting, bring some recommendations to the board regarding the use of e-bikes and e-scooters on campus. The town doesn't highly regulate it, and there's not much code around it. However, there are traffic laws and there are safety issues that our students should be following. One of the things that I learned in talking to our SRO is that you have to be 16 to ride these. So now we currently do have middle schoolers riding, and Sweet Home Road and Maple, the parking lot at the middle school. My recommendation will be eventually to ban e-scooters and e-bikes at the middle school, and then regulate them here at the high school. Helmets, following traffic laws, designating parking spaces, putting stickers on them so we know who's riding them here. And then if they're abusing the privilege of bringing their bike or scooter here, that we could remove the tag from the e-bike or scooter. But as I'm talking to more superintendents about it, we know unfortunately last year there was a student in Clarence that lost his life in an accident on an e-bike and e-scooter. Recently in North Tonawanda, someone was critically injured. A student from North Tonawanda High School was critically injured on Nash Road. But the prevalence of these, even in my neighborhood, just drivers having to be very careful as they're navigating neighborhoods because they are everywhere and kids are zooming around on them. And so, I just feel like it's our due diligence that we have to do our part to make sure our students are safe on our campuses as they bring more and more of these e-bikes and scooters here. But we are going to regulate them to 16 years and up would be my recommendation, obviously, because that's the law. And then following certain traffic laws and patterns and wearing a helmet, where we're seeing a lot of kids not wearing helmets riding these. 20 miles an hour doesn't sound like very quick, but they go 20, they can go up to 20 miles an hour. And you can certainly, I've had my neighbor, unfortunately, even who goes here, had a fractured skull last year falling over one. So it's just we're seeing more and more injuries. APD is seeing more and more injuries. I've also engaged Amherst Central School and Williamsville Central School superintendents. They're interested in having a conversation and kind of matching similar policies and regulations around these. So just want to let you know that I'm going to have a presentation in August for the start of the school year, and then get the communications out before kids come back in September.
Dr. Janestri, do we have any signage about e-bikes and scooters currently on campus?
We do not. We do not.
Last spring, I repeatedly had to ask students to get off our turf with their e-scooters.
Those are,
bikes.
yes. So that's another reason why I want to tag them, because they will lose, they're not allowed to do that now. So there is signage back there for e-bikes and scooters to not, they should not be driving back here at all. This is not a student parking lot. They should not be taking them on the turf, obviously. And we can revoke that privilege if they do, but we don't tag them right now. And so that's going to be a recommendation moving forward.
You know, it's very much a safety issue. You know, I view them as, you know, motorcycles.
Yes.
You know, they're no safer than a motorcycle, in my opinion. But I have found they do a lot more damage
Yes.
than even a motorcycle can do. So I fully on board with whatever policy you want to put forth.
Well, I believe a motorcycle you got to get a license for, right? You
Yes.
have to
Exactly.
pass
Yeah.
some type of
Yep.
EMV,
Yeah.
you know, program, and
They're glorified
and they're
dirt bikes.
dangerous to the other motorists.
Yes.
I mean, that's another piece.
Yes,
Right? That
100%.
It's if they're coming, you know, and then you stop or you move out of the way, and it's just, you know, there's other incidents. When you, just quick, when you mention tag, are you talking about like a licensing, or you mean like tracking them?
So student drivers have to get a tag, basically to park in our parking
tag.
lot.
Okay.
Parking pass.
This would,
Okay.
parking pass, this would be similar.
Okay.
I think Mr. Johnson and I were on we were here for an event, and I remember showed you the
Yeah.
Yeah, the
archway.
number of, yeah, the number of bikes out there unlocked that
Yes.
everybody could have easily walked away with.
Yes. And I want to make that clear too, that we're not responsible, but you know, we're going to try and keep them safe, but we're not responsible for that as well. The bike racks don't hold e-scooters and bikes. They're not made for that. They're made for pedal bikes.
Yeah, I would just add, just from a liability standpoint too, like this is obviously it's a topic of conversation with Mike and the superintendents, the business official level, just from liability insurance. You know, we've been talking about if it's not in policy, to get it in policy and that kind of thing to, you know, in an instance where somebody has an accident on your property, to make sure that you're all kind of buttoned up from that standpoint, because it's been an issue, to Mike's point, at a number of districts. You know, I appreciate Mike kind of taking the lead on this and getting this up to speed, so to speak.
Be safe, kids out there, please.
Yeah, for all those kids that are watching right now, how are you?
Yes.
Thousands.
Right now.
July 1st is the start of the new school year, and there's a lot of familiar faces on the screens, but they're all in new positions. And I think we've done a lot of great things here in the past 5 years, but one of the things I'll take personal pride in is the fact that our administrative team here is second to none. And they have worked and developed themselves into great leaders that have been eligible to fill into spots, in critical spots, as they move in throughout their career at Sweet Home. And so we have a lot of administrative changes, but familiar faces filling those critical roles here in the district. And I just wanted to take a moment to recognize Katie Barilari as our new Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. Dr. Shaibi is our new Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources here in the district. Lindsay Marcinelli has moved from Assistant Director to Director of Special Programs. Marissa Doria is moved from the middle school to the high school as our new principal. Steve Shepard is moved as an administrator from the Ready Academy to be the principal at the middle school. And Chandra Jagello is moved from our Administrator of Climate and Culture at Glendale to the Assistant Director of Special Programs at District. And so it's just wonderful to have that much talent to be able to fill into these positions here at the district. And I also want to take a moment to recognize new or our recommended candidate, Kaylin Call, for the the administrator of climate and culture at Glendale. That has been such a critical position. Chandra's done a great job in that position. And it really has helped Glendale. I can't speak to it. I'd probably let you speak to it, how critical that position is at Glendale, Karen, because of our exceptional classrooms there and because of the amount of work and time and effort and energy it takes to give our students there an exceptional education that's fair and equal and equitable to every student. The board added this position 3 years ago, and it's paid huge dividends, and we wanted to keep it going at Glendale. And Kaylin, I saw her during her screening interview. I saw her during her final presentation. Absolutely phenomenal. We're adding a rock star to the district. We're very fortunate to have her. Her background in behavioral education is going to pay huge at Glendale, and we're super excited to get her. She's from Springville Griffith. Had to make a tough call to their superintendent, who's a former Sweet Home teacher here, and he was not happy, but very happy for you. Not happy for Springville, but very happy for you. So, all right. So congratulations. We'll recommend her tonight for appointment, and her start date is August 1st.
Congratulations.
And before then, I wanted to also say that Emily Morozic is here in the audience tonight. Part of the new civil service law is that we're able to recommend people for permanent status after 6 months. And Emily has picked up where Steve Rosler left off and has just been phenomenal here. Finding a director of buildings and grounds is like finding a needle in a haystack. And Emily kind of fell in our lap at the last minute, and we got super lucky. And we certainly, she works around the clock. She brought her mom June here tonight. I was made sure that I had to mention that. Mr. Feldman said, mom's coming. So we had to mention mom, but she's quickly become part of the fabric here at Sweet Home, and we really want to recommend her for permanent status here in the district. Keep her here for a very long time. She's going to play a critical role in the building project in moving forward. So she's already been in all of the OACM meetings, and she is providing input. She's managing a quite a large staff, working hand in hand with Don in district office, and our facilities have not missed a beat. In fact, they're improving as we speak. So wanted to recommend Emily for permanent status to the board tonight and welcome her here too. And just a couple more things as we move through 26, 27 in preliminary discussions with the board. I know achievement is going to be a key factor for us as we move forward. And so our theme this year, as Mrs. Barilari and Dr. Shaibi and Mr. Feldman and I start planning for the administrative retreat, I've done a great job with every student in one community in the past 5 years. The board has provided a ton of resources to ensure that our students' wellness is a key factor in their education. And now we really want to circle ready for the future. As the board adopted the new extension to the strategic plan, as we look at academic achievement more closely here in the district, we have people in place that are providing up to the second data for us to provide fantastic intervention to make sure that our students are reading and doing math at level and above. And so our theme this year, we circled ready for the future because not only are we going to be focused on academics, but we need to focus on pathways that Sweet Home is going to be able to develop as part of the strategic plan. So Katie and I have had a ton of discussions. We are super excited to take on this work and make this a big theme for us starting tonight, but with our administrative retreat that's going to be in August. And I know the principals are ready for this and directors are ready for this as well. So our theme this year from a district office point is ready for the future and fits perfectly into our mission. And I know in talking with Mr. Leibel that, in writing the board goals are going to match our administrative goals. I think it's going to be great that we're all on the same page with this. So
So
we're
will we
excited.
see more? What will we see more of data?
Yep, we're gonna see-
behind everything?
Yeah, a push for academic achievement, a push, you'll see data that goes with it. Lindsay Harrington has been phenomenal in our data office. And she's working on a data book that we're going to use as the basis for a starting point for where we're looking at, and then put measurable achievement levels behind that data.
That's not more testing, it's
No.
just. pulling up.
It's actually using the tests to inform our instruction.
Thank you.
So we're excited about that. And I believe that is all I have for tonight. So questions? Thank
Any
you.
questions?
33 slides is definitely not.
We're starting off the year with a bang.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Nestri. We are going to move on now to the item C, right? We're talking about the proposed bylaw and amendment and resolution for NISBA. I believe that was added just recently.
You want to start, Marianne?
Sure.
It's your idea.
So, you know, I've been a big proponent for feeding our kids. Our kids don't just get hungry during the school year, they get hungry during the summer. And when we had COVID, we were able to take our buses. I know some of us got on the buses to hand out food to kids every day. So what I'm proposing is that somehow, I don't want another unfounded mandate, underfunded mandate. I'd like to have some kind of funds coming in so we can help feed these kids, not at just a couple schools, but all our kids for the summer, because the learning doesn't stop for the summer. And what I'm proposing, I think they should, I think there should be at least something that we put forth that we tried to make a difference.
And the resolution that you saw written up in here, I know it looks fairly simple. I'm a member of the resolutions committee for this year representing Area 1, which is the Western New York one. The process involved in creating those, we actually fill out that form. And they actually are very clear that they like the resolutions to be wide open, because that way when their people go to talk with the legislators about setting laws, they're not restricted by something inside of there, which is why it's written the way it is rather than a little bit tighter than that. And the second part of it, it used to be people would write up like several levels of whereases. They don't want us to keep doing that, because what happens is when you get to the actual business meeting, and some of you have sat in on them before, and you know what I'm talking, people end up sitting there nitpicking all the points in the whereas, and the whereas doesn't mean anything. The only thing they're going to look at when they talk to the legislators is what the actual resolution is. The whereas is just to make the points and people understand why we're doing it. That's why just the explanation part
So
is
was
pretty straightforward and simple.
Very succinct. I think it didn't pigeonhole anything in, and it will allow for questions. I'm thinking the questions will probably be, again, how we're going to fund this and the logistics of getting food to kids. But we used our transportation during that time, and we were able to provide these meals for kids. And I think if we had some funding,
Yeah,
would go a long way.
and as far as the business meeting goes, those won't be discussed. They're not pertinent to it. That comes down to the arguments with the legislators. You saw my name in the bottom. My name's on the bottom because I'm going to be at the business meeting. Typically what they do is they look for somebody on the board to be able to answer questions. So if there's questions that come up during the meeting, I'm already on the call. That way they don't have to, and I've been on this committee once before, and sometimes they spend an hour or more chasing people down, or in one case, they threw out a resolution because the person wasn't available. So I'm already on the call.
And if they have questions or want to send it back to us to make some revisions.
Yeah,
that
there is a
would be-
process involved in
There is a
that too, yeah.
process to that.
They can have me make, if they're relatively simple changes, I can make them right there on the phone. If not, I can come back to the district. And then there's a second chance, if they say, if the committee says no to it for some reason, there's a present place where we can make rebuttals to it, and it comes back up for a vote at a later meeting on that's in, I think it's early September, if I remember right. It's already scheduled. I just don't remember the exact date.
I'm sorry for adding this at the last minute. I did not realize that we had a deadline. What my overall goal was to talk with Williamsville, Clarence, and Amherst to see if we could combine and all have our names on it that way, but there just wasn't time. I apologize for getting it so late.
Yeah, if it isn't in by sometime next week, I don't remember the exact date.
Does this?
Please wait till
become-
next year.
Does this become part of that big list of
Yeah.
things that we sit and vote on, like
Yep.
everybody's favorite meeting, right?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one.
That's the
Mr.
one.
The
Mr. Johnson, if it just, I fully support this. I think this is great. I just want to, if I can give you some information to maybe help you, kind of advocate from that standpoint. And I'm going to get this moniker wrong, but right now, we are in what's called a summer food service program. I think it's by acronym, it's SFSP, by state ed. I'm not certain of that.
Okay.
What that means is that we are allowed to serve meals in our buildings, which we are doing presently. And anybody under the age of 16, regardless of whether or not you go to school, you're eligible to come in and do it. The stipulation of that is that you must consume that meal in the building. So you have to get to the building, you have to consume the meal in the building in order for the district to be reimbursed. They suspended that during the time of COVID, and they gave it another name, and I don't remember what it is. But what I'll do is I'll be happy to kind of look that information up and share that with you. You're not wrong. It was highly successful, highly successful in our district. And we strategically went out with school buses and served meals off the back of school buses. Because for us, as you all know, transportation is very difficult.
Well, that's
So,
it. I mean, when we talk about haves and have-nots, it's great that kids can come to the school, but what about those families that don't have transportation getting here? We need to think of them too, so I think.
yeah.
The more you
and-
can get me down, the better. 'Cause my meeting's in August. I mean, we.
That's fine. I'll be happy to do that. And again, they kind of pulled back on some of the regulations in that, if you remember correctly, we were giving weeks-long worth of meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner from that end of things. So very well received in the district, but I will get you the information. I can pull that up and I can share with you. I remember we did a presentation on the amount of meals that we did, and it was in the tens of thousands in the summertime.
And I think you also brought up the point when we were doing it, that our service workers were working. A lot of them are in the district. They
Yeah.
were employed during, I mean, so it's a win-win for a lot of people.
It is, but the money does need to come from somewhere.
Exactly. I don't want this unfunded mandate to
You
be
don't have a
stuck.
tree?
No,
Thanks, Mr. Feldman.
be happy to help.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions about it? I mean, it's,
Yeah, so in the end, you're trying to advocate for something in the resolutions book for the business meeting in September, correct?
business meetings in October, but yeah, yeah.
Can you do something that advocates, because really all you're doing, you're giving it to New York State school boards to go to the elected officials to promote this concept. this
Correct.
idea, for the money from the state to come back to us. And I would think most school districts would jump on that.
I would hope.
I would hope.
But it's kind of interesting. Can you do it separately? Board resolution to direct the district to go to Albany like we do for building projects or anything else. We go and ask for certain things for our school district, expand this SFS thing or whatever. I'm questioning, I'm
Yeah.
asking out loud here.
I know at our legislative meetings for the Erie County Association of School Boards, we started just last year discussing all these resolutions in advance. So people had some idea especially if the school districts weren't familiar with the process. I mean, we've been doing it for as long as I can remember in detail. Some school districts just pick one person, say you go vote whatever way you feel. And they're trying to get, the idea was to get more information to them. But on the other hand, we also looked at some of these things as, even if it didn't necessarily end up in the state school board's process, it's like, okay, do we want to do this locally with our legislators anyways?
Right.
So then we used those bullet points to actually create our own list with the Erie County legislative team that we take to our legislators too. So it's a chance for us to take them forward when we go meet with the legislators.
Which
I
is
think
what
that
you're
has more
saying.
of an impact also.
Yeah, yeah, that way we're
That
right.
might allow you to
Yes.
get the other districts
Yeah.
on board.
Yes.
Yeah, because they're going to hear directly, in this case from me, and my counterparts, when we go to our meetings to do this. And when we go, like when we sit down with the Assemblyman Conrad, we're going to have several school districts in the area. It's not just us. And the same thing when we sit with Assemblywoman McMahon and whoever ends up being our new state senator, will end up in all those positions. It's a group of school districts all together advocating for the same thing. You've been at some of those before. You know what I'm talking about. I know not, I don't think anyone else has, but
Go ahead.
you've been there. Yeah, Jessica.
sorry, the way that this is written too, it looks like it's not to be mandated. It just opens the door that
Correct. Yeah,
that
that's,
the
they wanted me to
districts are
leave that part
allowed
out.
to.
What you want.
Because I know school districts
Right.
will vote against if it's mandated.
Yeah.
Because not every school district has that need. I mean, a couple of our counterparts in the
Or,
area
or
probably
they
don't
want
have
it,
that
but they
need.
don't have the funding.
Yeah. Well, that's why the important part is the funding part of it. That's the most important piece.
Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. I like it. I love it.
And that was part of not tying their hands, leave it, they'll work for the best deal that they can get out of it, but the more open-ended we are with the resolution, the better.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Anyone else?
I appreciate the support of the board, and again, I apologize for the late adding of this yesterday, but I was
State's
just
gotta
getting my
fund
act
it, right?
together, so.
That's what you're looking.
I just had a general question about the food, and I don't know, Don, if you know this offhand, but those meals that they're required to eat in the facilities, is any of that being wasted? Is there an opportunity, I guess, if there's these leftover meals to then make those available where you don't have to eat them in the facility, or do they just get thrown out? Like, what happens with that food?
Karen, do you have any insight on that? How the meals are, I don't know how the meals are distributed in summer, and is there any waste? Yeah.
Oh.
Kind of told families that are there, like, let us know if you are coming so that we can prepare, so they're not preparing lots of mass.
Mhm.
Our ESY program, so hot dogs or kids are eating. That, biggest concern is the families on.
Definitely.
And comment, they were. Signs for breakfast or even lunch, so.
Mr. Lively, what I would say is to that point, I think with what Christie does and the food service department does is they try and be minimalistic in their approach, because if it's not consumed in the building, it can't be reimbursed, and that comes right at the expense of the district.
Yeah. Well, I know in COVID, what was probably different is I remember they were like handing them out,
Correct.
and you would have some people, be leaving with, if they had extra, they
That's okay.
rightfully or wrongfully, were taking the extras then back home or whatnot to, so they weren't going to waste because
Right.
Oh,
they're
I
kind of
see what you're
almost
saying.
prepared.
Yeah, they were. I mean, we went off the back of the bus and just handing people, and
Yeah.
it was a great system we had in all these different neighborhoods that we reached so many people that would have been hungry otherwise.
But I will work to get you some stuff.
Okay, well, thank you. All right, we'll move on to item D, upcoming events. We have a few. Dollars for Scholars golf outing on the August 7th, high school graduation on the 18th at the high school library. And then the board retreat on September 2nd and the first day of school on September 9th. And that brings us to our first open session for Board Policy 1510. This open session is for topics related to tonight's agenda. Is anybody interested in speaking? Okay, then we'll move on to new business. All right, I'm going to ask for a consent agenda for items A through R. Item A, special education, class placements and preschool class placements. Item B is bids, cooperative bids. Item C is pre-kindergarten program. D is the proposed school board meeting dates. Item E, mail service provider. F is uniform guard contract. G, school resource officer contract. H is the local wellness guidelines, policy 5661. I is attendance procedures. J is the breakfast lunch prices.
Here's a question. When they say TBD, I mean, obviously, determined, how is that determined? Do they do that at the beginning of the year? Like what goes into that?
I don't know what goes into it. We just get the rate.
We get guidance from the state. We
Yeah,
haven't
the
gotten
state
guidance from the
comes
state yet.
And then tells us what it is. Yeah.
Item K is extracurricular activity accounts, policy 7410. And we're closing a high school account for the class of 26 and the Glendale Library Helpers account. L is the superintendent amendment. Item M is school district calendar. N, revised policy, the second reading for 1410 on the use of internet-enabled devices during the school day. And O is the tax anticipation note, which is a number of pages there. P is an overnight field trip request, policy 8460. This is for the hockey tournament. Q is the disposal of obsolete property, policy 5250. And R is the proposed amendment and resolution we just talked about for NISBA. So can I have a motion?
I just want to make one thing. My usual, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about our special ed classes and the CSE meetings, 126 pages of very light this month, but again, shout out to all our supportive staff who just goes above and beyond with these kids, making sure they have what they need. And I can't say enough about our special ed department, what they do for our kids.
Any other questions or items to discuss related
Just
to these?
I'm gonna put a request in. Where is it? The Fifth Amendment, if I could see the actual contract itself at some point,
Should be in your
packet.
Google Drive.
in the Google Drive. Okay, I'll look for it.
And it's on our sheet right here on our,
That's just the amendment portions of it though.
oh, you want the full?
Yes.
Oh. Okay, yeah, that's good.
Thank you.
Okay,
And-
Mr. President, I'll make a motion to approve new business items A through R, the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. All right, informational items. I know in the past we've gone through individual by individual. And what I'm going to just ask is, does anybody have any informational items they'd like to share?
Great graduation. I think we were all there and it was great graduation.
Yes, graduation was amazing.
Oh,
Just want to thank everybody for who contributed to making it such a great day for all of the students and the families and everyone in attendance. It's just magic.
Anyone else? Scott?
Yeah, separate from that. At our last meeting, we had a couple gentlemen here that were, three of them from the Sweet Home African American Alumni Association. Last week, we had a video conference with the Sweet Home Education Foundation, talking with those gentlemen, one of those two, or one of those three, a couple others who are overseeing all this stuff. And they were talking to us about the various programs they're hoping to work on right now. And one of the things they're going to do is a backpack program on August 18th, if I remember right. 18th?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. And they've got a flyer out about it that's helping share some of the information. And Chef is going to try and work up a little bit on that and try to make sure we coordinate some programs too, because Chef is also doing a backpack. But these gentlemen are also bringing a few extras in along with it too, that they're going to do. And I think it's a great start to what they're doing. And they're definitely, like they talked about at the meeting, interested in doing a lot of things. So we're going to try and help them along the way there too, where we can.
Last Wednesday, they had another meeting and they invited Principal Doria to the meeting. She attended, said it was phenomenal. It's just a great group of individuals that want to do whatever they can for the district. So
They've got a QR code on that flyer. So if you scan that, it will take you to the website and you can donate through PayPal if you wanted to do a monetary donation, or you can email to see if there's anything that you can contribute to the backpack drive for donations.
Maybe share that flyer with Northtown. They could get a lot of kids over there.
They're partnering, so I know the Family Support partners with Northtown, and the Alumni
word out.
Association is partnering with Family Support, so it's all bringing it all together. Yeah, Ms. Nowak has been in touch with them.
Oh, their pop-up pantry also, and we can mention it again later, but it's the end of this month. I think it's July 30th,
Yes.
31st and August
Yes.
1st at the Student Support Center for families that need assistance, clothing, shoes, supplies. They've got
phenomenal.
literally everything.
If the board hasn't seen that, I would highly recommend that, I'd be happy to take you over and see the closet that they do.
Here's
It is
also-
great.
Yeah.
Just great. Very busy, very, very busy.
Anyone else with informational items?
And we get this probably every year about the leadership and education event in Albany. So you, possibly future leaders of the board, you should take a note of this and see if you can fit it in your schedule. There's always something to learn there. And I think the most interesting thing about these events is the networking piece of it, how other school districts are operating and working. So again, that's just my plug for those who might have an interest.
It is a great program. I took it a couple times in the past. You may have too, I'm not sure. And it is well worth your time.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, then we'll move on to our second open session. Would anybody like to address the board? All right, we'll move on to item 10, personnel. And we have teaching and administrative, regular. And service. And I think that's it. Any questions on personnel?
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion for consent agenda for personnel items 1 and 2.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
All right, now that moves us to adjournment to executive session. May I have a motion and a second to move to executive session for matters related to collective negotiations? We will not be returning.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Any opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries.
Good job.